Hey, happy Travel Tuesday here from Scott Lara. Got a couple stories for you here. Number one, Southwest Airlines. We all love Southwest for what reason? The free bags. Well, I just read this morning that Southwest is doing away with free bags. And unless you have the titanium or platinum or whatever card they have, the Southwest card. But I know a lot of people who love Southwest because if they go to Colorado to go skiing or they go to Cancun for a 2-week or a 4-week vacation, the free bags are a great benefit. Because you know as well as I do, Spirit, Frontier, Breeze, or whatever, yeah, you get that $99 airfare, but then it's kind of like with your tires, tag, tires, stems, balancing, they add all these other add-ons to it, which makes it more expensive. But like with these budget airlines, yeah, you can get that free, or you can get that $99 airfare, but then when you go to check out, it's like $3.99 because you're picking your seat and you're getting bags and all those things. So Southwest, I'm kind of sad about that, but do what you got to do. Number two, this young lady in the Dominican Republic who went missing. And I've just got to say, the first thing that came to my mind was, Natalie Holloway years ago down in Aruba. And I understand, kids going on vacation, 5 girls trip. What I can't understand as a dad is 3 a.m. You got to have a little bit of common sense. And I understand it's a fun trip and I'm not throwing a rock. All I'm just saying is, just to be mindful of your situation where you are. But being out at 3 a.m., I'm speechless on that, and the thoughts and prayers go out to this young lady and her family. Next story, Munich, Germany, and these German airports. They were having a strike there, I believe it was on Monday, and I think the strike is lifted. I was looking, and it looks like planes are flying into Munich now and through Germany. However, I read that there are still strikes going to be going on to try to, of course, raise wages for the employees. But when you think of thousands of people their travel being disrupted for this, and then it's a snowball effect. Like, what if you're planning on going on a cruise, you're planning on getting to Munich and then going over to Wilshafen to catch your Alma Magna cruise, and the airport's closed? What do you do? So that's why you always get travel insurance, of course, in case something happens. And you got to read the fine print, make sure that would be covered. But very disconcerting on that. And of course, going back to river cruising, it looks like the Danube, there's some water issues going on, and I've been kind of reading up on that too, where, depending on how much rain or how little rain or whatever, it can really affect your river cruise. So you want to do some research on that. Call your travel agent. Don't go to Costco, because the guy at Costco is not going to know. But your travel agent will know what's going on with the water levels there. And supposedly, if there is a problem, for example, if you fly into Munich and you're thinking you're going to catch your cruise, the cruise line will send you a letter, a couple days beforehand. Hey, you're not going to be getting off in Walchshafen. You're going to be going over to Munich or somewhere else. So you always want to be mindful of what's going on when you're traveling. And usually the cruise line will let you know, with a letter. And I think that's really important, because if you've never been on a river cruise before in Munich, when you fly to Munich, I've never been on a river cruise, and I want to know everything I can about it. For example, when you book through, I learned this lesson many, many years ago through a previous travel agent I worked with. You have different numbers, right? You have your Expedia reservation number. You have an itinerary number. You have a Sabre number. You have all these different numbers, right? And so here's the story I want to tell you about. It's my friend Wendy, who ran a travel agency back in the day. And so when I was going to Las Vegas with a bunch of my friends, she handed me my reservation number, and it had the Sabre number. Now, what's Sabre? Back in the day, there was an old airline. It's probably still around. But it's like a transport, it's a company that deals with, airfare and hotels and all this kind of stuff, right? Sabre. So she hands me the reservation, and I knew this long before I knew about travel, right? So I get my reservation on a piece of paper. Here's the reservation number. And I knew something wasn't right because it said Sabre. And I said, now I wonder when I go to that front desk if they're going to have that Sabre number. Well, I called the hotel. I think it was like, the one with the pyramid over there in Las Vegas, the Luxor. So I took a minute out of my day to call the Luxor, and I said, hey, Scott Lara coming in on April 15th, and the Sabre number is XR71321B. And the lady said, well, that's not our number. That's not our reservation number. And they said, well, give me a minute, pull it up, LARA, April. Oh, our number is 1279436, which I wrote that number down. Now, I told a friend of mine, I said, you need to call the hotel and do exactly what I did, because you don't want to go to that front desk. And next thing you know, I'm alone, I'm afraid, I'm not certain. Who are you? I don't know. Goodbye, police, security, get them out of here, right? So my friend did not take my advice to call the hotel. And so when I got to the hotel, I said, okay, LARA, and I gave them their reservation number. And hey, your room's ready. Have a nice day. We love you. Hug, kiss, and here's a free Dr. Pepper. Well, let me just say, I know somebody who is going to Hungary later in early April, right? And they had their Expedia number, they had the Expedia confirmation number, itinerary number, blah, blah, blah. Well, this person I know, who will remain nameless, actually emailed the hotel. And he said, hey, here's the Expedia number, here's the person's name, here's the person's date. And the hotel emailed that person back and said, yes, we have your reservation, but our reservation number is 1234567. Well, let me ask you a question. Are you going to have that 1234567 number when you go to check in at your hotel? Well, you should, because they may not recognize the Expedia number. They may not recognize the itinerary number. And you got to put it in your mind that person behind the desk may not be the best person, to help you. One of my good friends, very good friends, used to be a person that worked like at Hertz Rent-A-Car. And she always went above and beyond to make sure that when those businessmen were flying in at 2 and 3 in the morning, they were good to go. They were treated with respect, got them out the door. And a little story I'll tell you about my friend too. She used to work at Dairy Queen when she was a kid. And she looked at remember Dairy Queen? And they had these pictures of the different things, right? So she studied how the curly Q would go on the dilly bar or on the cone. And she made those cones and all those things exactly like the chart. And that gave her a lot of pride. And she still tells that story today. And she's very proud of that, because it was just that customer service that she gave to people. And that's why, I strongly recommend, if you get a hotel reservation, especially if it's through Travelocity or Expedia or wherever else, call the hotel, take that moment to make sure that all the stars are lining up. Because the last thing you want to do, especially if it's 2 in the morning, or maybe you're checking in early, you don't want any kind of complication. Let me give you another example real quick of making it easy. Many of us, like myself and my wife, have a legal first name, but we go by our middle names, or we go by a nickname. As you know, my name is Scott, and I'm not going to tell you my first name. But my first name is different than my middle name, but I go by my middle name, right? So my wife and I were at a cruise counter, I think it was Fort Lauderdale, and the person used our first names, and my wife didn't like that. She said, hey, his name is Scott, my name is Marty. And that person behind the desk kind of took a double take, went over to the supervisor, checked all our passport, okay. So the last thing you want to do, especially when you're boarding a cruise, is to cause any confusion, because they're trying to check in people as quickly as possible. And so, if you get offended by them not using your nickname, just go with the flow, because your job is to get on that cruise ship without any kind of delay or any problems, right? Last tip I'll give you too, a good friend of mine, his son went on a cruise with some friends. It wasn't a mother or father or stepfather or stepmother, but like with some friends. And I encouraged him to have the official NCL document that they provide, just in case that child needed medical care or something like that, because the last thing you want is if that kid falls down and gets hurt or something and got to go down to the infirmary and, hey, are you the parent? No. Are you the guardian? No. Do you have a form? No. Well, we're not going to be able to set his ankle without authorization from an authorized person, and you're just a family friend. We're not going to get sued, right? So having that document don't just get any document off of a website. Go to NCL, Royal Caribbean, Carnival, whatever website, whatever cruise line you're going to, and get their official document that has like something for kids, right? And even if you're a step parent, right, there could be a question about who has custody. What if the mom calls and says, oh, not supposed to have Timmy this week, and calls a lawyer or the security or something. Having the documentation to prove that the child is authorized to be with you. Anyway, those are some Travel Tuesday tips. Scott Lara, thecruisegenius.com. Like and subscribe. slara1961 at gmail.com. Stay tuned for more cruise content. You're going to love it.